up and say a speech geared on what the poll would show them. So I'm just going to make some notes and kind of tell you why we're involved and dedicated to run this race, and then kind of go from there. I want to thank well, first of all, I want to introduce my campaign staff, so the people that are helping me. But my wife here, she's always lending moral support and advice. Psychologist, let me know what, if I'm doing everything correct. My daughters did the web design and is doing the website, and my son does press releases and will be in charge of a lot of the manual type labor. So there's my complete campaign staff right now. I hope to be adding more to it as we get a lot of people involved in the campaign and get back to work trying to take this country back. But I want to thank the Ozark Cafe here for allowing us to do this here. Every town and city across America has an Ozark Cafe. It's where people go in and they talk about what's going on. And this is the heartbeat of America. It's people that are going out every day, doing what they're supposed to do as Americans, coming in and talking about. There's more common sense that walks through those doors of the Ozark Cafes across the country than there is in Congress, because they understand that you can't keep spending more than you have coming in and expect to continue to live as a free nation. So I always love going into small town cafes and talking to people, because there you realize where people are, what they're talking about, and what they're facing and what they believe in. So I want to thank Jeff and Heather for allowing us to do this here at Ozark Cafe in West Plains. First of all, what you're all here for and what we're doing is today we're beginning our campaign to run for the United States Senate. So I want to make that announcement very quickly. But, people ask me, why, and when I get out and talk to people, I sense frustration, because they're seeing a nation that's not portraying their values anymore. You can't continue spending yourself into over and over again. You're spending your child's inheritance and expect to remain as a strong nation. It's the number one thing that we do in state government and national government is fiscal policy. And if you're not fiscally strong, it's going to be very hard for generations to come to be able to keep the America that we love today. When you start talking to people that right now we have $55 trillion of unfunded liabilities. That's promises the government has already made through health care, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Promises that have already been made total up to over $55 trillion. And I'm using conservative numbers because I've read lately where the numbers are even higher. But my numbers are $55 trillion. That's about $200,000 for every family in America that is already owed through the entitlement program. And we can't seem to realize that we're broke. And we as a nation, in order to get back to the foundation this nation was founded on, we are going to have to get our fiscal house in order. People don't realize that. I was seeing one of the tea parties one time where a little child was holding up a sign that says, "I'm $50,000 in debt and I haven't started kindergarten yet." But that's true through the entitlement programs. And one of the things that, and I'm going to tell this quick story, that back in 1995, I started a campaign for state representative. And this is a little story that's personal to me, but there was a lady named Mrs. Woolsey who was a retired school teacher and lived on fixed income. She wrote me a check for $25 when I was running for that state rep seat. $25 wasn't a lot of money, but it meant a lot, because for her it was a sacrifice. And she wasn't asking for anything in return. She just wanted me to go and do the best job I could to represent her. This year, I wasn't really thinking about this race that much, or it crossed my mind, but I didn't want to do it because I have a life. I have a family and a business that I love, and just did not want to make that step. And I was sitting there one night in my office, and I opened up a letter, and there was nothing in it except a check for $25 from Mrs. Woolsey. And down in the memo, she wrote, U.S. Senate. And I sat there and looked at that, and I thought, you know, there's a lot of little Mrs. Woolseys out there that want someone to represent them. They don't want, they're not asking for anything except someone to put their values and their beliefs forward and stand on principles. And I look at that little $25 check, and in the last few weeks, the news media has called me and said, "How can you run with someone that has $1.7 million in the bank?" Well, it's going to be tough. But there's a lot of little Miss Woolseys out there with $25 checks that want their country back. And you know, we're involved in going to go out and try one door at a time and one check at a time, go out and try to take the nation back that we love. You know, I'm a Republican, and I was a Republican because I believe in Republican principles. But the number one thing was I was conservative Republican. And what I've seen is my party slide away from the conservative part of what we were founded on. You know, I've had people say that, well, if you run a primary, you could damage our party. And I'm sitting there thinking that, you know, we've lost the House, the Senate, and the presidency. How bad can it get? And I said, what we've got to do is return our party back to principles. You know, in the Missouri Senate, I believe that we've led with conservative principles. I believe I've had an impact in the Missouri Senate. This year, the Missouri Senate, in this last election cycle, is one of the few chambers in the nation that actually gained seats. In a time that everywhere Republicans lost, the Missouri Senate gained 3 seats, which was outstanding based on the political atmosphere. But we did that is because we led with conservative principles, and we followed through on many of the things that the Republican Party and conservatism stand for. So what I found out is I believe in the principles of the Republican Party, but the people we have elected have not followed those principles because they had an opportunity to, and they didn't come through with their side of the bargain. For years when I worked in the Republican Party, I was told if we ever get the presidency in the House and the Senate, things will change. Well, we're in a situation, and I want to look to my chart maker here to put up a chart that if you just look at the facts and the figures, this is 2001, 2002, the House and Senate, and the Republican numbers in both the House and the Senate. That year we had 9/11 happen, so you're going to have a bad economy during that year. But so you can look past the 2001 to 2002, but it's minus $30 billion. That was the deficit for that year. As we gained seats, 2003 to 2004, the deficit went to $792 billion. You know, we weren't making much headway. I believe in lowering taxes, but you can't lower taxes and increase spending at the same time. It just doesn't work. So the deficit here went to $792 billion. 2005, 2006 was the high mark. Republicans in the House was 232 to 202. Republicans in the Senate was 55 to 44. The deficit still was $566 billion. You know, if the platform of the Republican Party says that we're for a balanced budget, if we're for a balanced budget, why aren't these balanced? You know, it's a simple question, but I would like a simple answer. You know, because they didn't stand on their principles. And then we lost the House and the Senate under the last administration. We still stayed at $617 billion. So what that tells me by just looking at data is that we didn't stand on our principles. We didn't follow through with a balanced budget. You know, we had an opportunity. A lot of people place blame now on what's going on. A lot of people place blame on what the direction that the liberals are taking us now. You know, they're just being liberals. That's what they do. You know, that's their policy. That's what they believe in. What happened was, is the